My life is so filled with twists and things. Just as, let's say, in Arnold, uh, an executive producer came to me and said, I really want you for this role and you're perfect for the part. And diametrically 180-degree total opposite. The big guy, Jerry Weintraub, didn't want me for this. He wouldn't even consider me for a reading. Every time my name came up in the casting submittal process, he was adamant. He says, I don't want a comedian. I don't want a comic actor for this role. This is a heavyweight part. I want an actor. In all of America, there's got to be some kind of an actor. Go find him, you know. And they did. They tried. They interviewed everyone. And finally, we're getting down to the wire, and John Avildsen, to his credit forever, God bless him, boy, he says, look, I really don't care what Jerry says at this point. I want to read everybody, and I mean everybody, including people we haven't even covered yet. So as part of the cattle call process, I took part in that. Very, very, very tail end. Now, this is, again, how an actor especially knows that the gods are with you, although you don't realize it at the time. You know, as I got my longer hair and the beard, and I had never done that before. I was living in Hawaii. I was down in the dumps again. The career was on a slide, and I'm working in Hawaii, taking what work I can find, you know, nightclub comic work, writing copy for commercials, doing whatever. Fundraiser MC things for politicians and stuff, and barely making a living, but making a living. And for some reason, I said to myself, gee, I've never seen myself letting all this, just let everything kind of grow. I know people are going to start calling me the hippie nippy instead of whatever, but I didn't care. And I, ironically, not knowing about the project or anything about Karate Kid, came back to the mainland, re-signed with my then agent for another 3 years and whatever, and was literally on my way back to Hawaii because there was nothing else to do here. There were no parts, no offers that I knew of. Walking out the door of the agent's office, and I hear this big bellow from his office window. Pat Morita, where the heck is Pat Morita? I got to find him. And his secretary, Sarah, says, he just walked out the door, sir. Pops his head out and says, Pat, get your butt back in there. You got to read the script. I think it's perfect for you, right? So I do. I like the part. Make an appointment to do a reading for John Avildsen, and he's the only guy in there. Usually there's a casting person and a producer and a writer and somebody, right? Just me and him. And I love to share the story of my first time meeting with John Avildsen. I walk in and I meet a half a man. What do you mean? Well, he's got a camera on this side and a battery pack from here over, and this side's talking to him. He's looking at me. He's, hi, Pat, John Avildsen. Nice to meet you. Would you like to sit down and tell me a little bit? So he's taping this thing, right? And we talk, tell me a little bit about yourself. I tell him about myself. Would you like to read? Yeah, pick a couple of pages to read. I pick out two of the toughest scenes in the script, which hadn't even been staged or choreographed, just working off the top of my head, improvising virtually, and read. And thank you very much. Nice to meet you, et cetera, et cetera. And as I leave, he says, Pat, don't you want to take your script with you? You might need it. That's the first little teeny, 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 tiny glimpse of maybe I got a shot at something here, right? So, and I learned this later on. They're in a pre-production meeting a few days later, and they're talking about the various things that got to be done to collectively pull the company together and all the usual myriad of problems. And during the process, John reaches over and clicks on the monitor. And Mega Mogul Jerry, he starts talking about all the business, and he looks over and he goes, "Hey, wait a minute. That's a Miyagi. That looks like a Miyagi. Who the hell is that actor?" And John says, "That's the Pat Morita you refused to read for this part." The rest is history. They bring me in 5 times. They want to see if I can do it again. Then they bring Ralphie in, fly him in from New York. They want to see if there's chemistry. We do it. They make us do it again. This time in costume, in front of the studio heads. The 5th time they bring me in, we on a cold blank outline stage, no sets, nothing, but in costume. But they shoot it this time. Of course, they've been shooting it, the process all along the way, but this time for real. And to Jerry's credit, he gets on the horn and says, "Pat, I almost made the worst mistake of my life. I just want to be the first to congratulate you. You got the part of Miyagi." So that's why Miyagi talk like this, because he run out of energy.